Can you guys see it?
Oh, I think I have to click on watch stream. You don't have headphones, Muggles? I think everything is replaying to you.
No, it's on my laptop. It's gonna be fine.
Okay, let me click on your screen. How do I join? Watching stream. Okay. All right. Yeah, I can see it.
Cool. Shall we start?
Yep. But every time someone joins, I can hear it on your mic.
Let me see quickly if I can fix it. Cool. Do everyone see the screen?
Yep.
Okay, welcome everyone. I'll be leading today's meeting. Same rules as our usual meetings. Please always be polite. Let's follow the agenda. Turn off your mic when not talking. Do not interrupt questions until prompted to, and please be concise. Okay, this is the agenda I put up. Would anyone like to add anything to it?
I think most of the time will be probably spent on the 51% mining attack. I think a lot of people have questions on this, but I be happy to also hear from the participants here. Is there anything in particular that people would like to know in more, or is there any? Do you want more focus on the attack or other stuff? Because obviously we're trying to keep it within an hour plus ish. But yeah, if anyone is shy to type, is shy to say something, you can still type and in the Discord channel, and we will see it. So yeah.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, let's start with the lenses and then we'll switch to the mining attack. Okay, so last week we had our successful hard fork of the lenses, finally. I think we've covered this a few times before. The hard fork was fairly smooth. We will be doing Ruben had some ideas to have some giveaways which encourage lenses use. Essentially, we'll be giving prizes to people who are minting on the blockchain. Now that Lenses 1 is out, we are switching. Work has started on Lenses 2, which will enable direct anonymous payments. So without source or amounts are shared between transactions. Has anyone got any questions about the hard fork? I'll give you a second or two.
I only just have a few comments that there's still some very minor bugs and optimizations that are, I think there's like 3 or 4 of them that Levon has posted the pull request on GitHub. We're still reviewing that. Obviously, that was supposed to have gone in before this attack. But now that this attack happened, we're still reviewing them, but we intend to have a small little release that will solve these minor issues. And most of them are like performance related. Some are display related, but so far, nothing very critical at this point in time.
Cool. Okay, let's switch next to Sports. Sports was we had a discussion on our forum last year, starting in August, if we should enable spork functionality temporarily until like the lens matures. I think only about 43 people voted, but almost everyone was for it. And the sports functionality got activated with the lenses update. So last week, and the core team has used it for the first time on Wednesday with the 51% attack. Yeah. Has anyone got any questions about that?
I have a comment. I'm glad someone added it in.
No questions about the sports.
Just also another quick comment. Technically, I mean,
Yeah, lucky
Spox,
that, eh?
technically the Spox is a terminology that we took from Dash, but the way that we implemented it isn't really Spock like. I don't know. I mean, we just have been conveniently calling it Spox, but it isn't like the exact way that Dash implements its Spox. I just tend to just call it like an emergency switch. But yeah.
Okay. So we give everyone just a second or two just to write. If you guys don't get any questions. Okay, no questions. Should we talk about the attack then? Ruben, would you like to talk about just give an overview?
Yeah, sure. There actually seems to have been a lot of misunderstanding of what the attack is, and what should the recourse be. So I'll just give a very quick overview of what actually happened. Uh, so it appears that the attacker bought a lot of Firo. I mean, it does appear that the Firo that he initially got were legitimate Firo, so it wasn't like an inflation attack or something else like that. We did some, blockchain analysis. Now, no privacy features were used, and it does appear that the original collateral that was used to pull off the attack came from a Binance account. So, that means it was probably purchased from Binance and then withdrawn to the attacker's own wallet. After that, what happened was then he deposited the money into the Binance, and it is possible this is just a bit of speculation, but considering that it appears that he withdrew that Firo quite recently prior to the attack, it is possible that that huge price run up from, I don't know, $3 to $9 or something could have been him purchasing the Firo from the exchange. I mean, that is a possibility, but it is still more circumstantial rather than hard evidence. What happened then was then he did deposit these amounts back into Binance using three separate different Binance accounts, all of them which are KYC, which we don't know whether they're real KYCs or not. And then he proceeded to sell the entire night. So you would see during that particular day, there was a huge spike in price over like I think from 16th to 18th of January, and then suddenly the price just kept on plummeting for the entire night. Constant selling, which we believe was, a lot of it was can be attributed to the attacker selling the Firo that he acquired. So right now everything is totally legal, right? You bought the Firo, you withdraw it, and then you deposited it back in, and now you are selling the Firo. I mean, it's kind of questionable why anyone would do that, but there's no crime here. You are just buying Firo and then selling it at the same time, right? So after you do that, So that's why there's some confusion, like, oh, people should forfeit the Bitcoin and Ethereum and US dollars that there's nothing illegal here. He bought and then he sold. What he then did was then illegal, which is what he then did was to um, review his chain, which was secretly mined, probably like one or 2 days back. And that chain, because it had more accumulated work, overtook the current chain that we were on and reverse all his deposit transactions. Now, on top of the transactions that he reversed were not just his own, but also other members had their transactions reversed. Okay, so so that was the illegal bit. I mean, like some may say that, oh yeah, 51% attack is nothing wrong, which I can see the argument there because he was following the protocol. He's just using proof of work. But the fact that he bought the Firo, sold the Firo, and then took back the Firo that he should not have right to is definitely a crime, right? So let's not talk about, oh yeah, he did nothing wrong. There is a clear crime there, and the intention was very clear. Like if you see the way that he used three different accounts, the timing, there is definitely an intent to defraud. Okay, now very interestingly, the attacker instead of trying to anonymize his funds, what he did was that he then took off all of these funds and then consolidated it into one single address. Now, this is kind of strange, right? Like, if you were profit oriented, you want to get away with it, and you would maybe use the Lantus, or you at least split it into several different transactions. Instead, you saw everything consolidating and sitting into one account, which is now the number two rich list address. So that's how bad it is, right? Um, Now, after that, so obviously now the problem is that the attackers sold Firo to other users on Binance, and now he has taken back that Firo, right? And Binance is kind of like sitting in between as the escrow, so that the money loss is actually not just Binance, but it's actually the users whose Firo should have been there but are now no longer on the Binance wallets. So Binance now is in a kind of a tough situation because right now, if users request for withdrawal of their Firo, they do not have enough Firo in their accounts to fulfill the needs. So I hope you understand, like, this is like not Binance like making money out of anything else, or wasn't anything wrong on their part, right? Because everything up to the 51% attack was totally legal. Now, because of the reversal of so many transactions, which also included innocent users, the losses are actually 906,000, as you can see on the screen, because that includes other people's deposits that were also reversed. We did actually attempt to rebroadcast those transactions. So many of them confirm, so that this 906,000 figure might be lesser. We're still calculating how much we managed to rebroadcast, but that damage may be lower. Indodax, which is an Indonesian exchange, also reported losses of about 82,000 Firo. Now, that doesn't mean that the total damage is 900 plus 82,000, because it is possible that several users bought from Binance and then withdrew to Indodax. And because of all the transactions being reversed, the Indodax and the Binance transactions got reversed, and therefore, if we make good Binance, it is possible that Indodax losses would also disappear. All right, there's no absolute guarantee, but I have a strong suspicion that until we really look at the Indodax transactions, if Binance is made whole, a lot of this subsequent flow in transactions and losses would also be settled as well. So this is kind of the attack in a nutshell. Um, I'm available to take questions, but I just want to make it very clear that people have been asking, why has the stream ended? Okay. Can you guys hear me still? Hello? Okay. Just muggers drop out. Okay. All right. So all that has happened is the attacker got back the Firo that he was supposed to not have. But we managed, with the cooperation of pools and exchanges, we managed to lock down those funds in that single address. So right now, the current status is that those funds are effectively out of circulating supply because they cannot be moved. And now Binance is down like 900 over 1,000, possibly maybe less. But the attackers' funds are totally locked in. And we did several changes to kind of mitigate this. We did also introduce a reorg limit of 5 blocks, which is a temporary sort of stopgap solution. But chain locks, we push forward the activation of it. It has been tested. It has been rolled out in testnet, but we actually originally wanted to test it for additional 1 or 2 weeks. But because of this incident, and all these exchanges are asking, are you sure your network is going to be secure after this? We expedited this and pushed this. So with the latest 14.4 transaction, 14.4 release, chain locks will be activated in about less than 1 week, and it should secure again 51% attacks. So yeah, does anyone have any questions there? So before I go on. Okay, some things that I want to also address, because I've also been seeing all the responses. I mean, it's pretty good that we have 109 voters. It would be nice to have more. But there are some that have accused the development team of being slow about implementing chain locks. I think this is kind of like benefit of hindsight. We did, first of all, I don't know, I mean, like those in the development team, we always said that chain locks is an absolute priority after the Lantis release. And you can see that, you see our GitHub activity, what we have been doing in testnet. You can see it's not as if we've been dilly-dallying. There were also others saying, well, when you introduce LLMQ chain masternodes, why didn't you do chain locks then? Now remember, we just went through a very bad bear market, right? And what happened was, like, we were short on resources, and we had to decide, are we going to release Atlantis on time? Okay. And we actually are quite late on Atlantis. We supposed to release in Q3, and then it turns out that we only activated it in January. So if we had delayed further, I'm pretty sure the community would have been up in arms and said that, oh yeah, you guys are lying and stuff like that. So we made the decision to prioritize Lelantis over chain locks then. Now, chain locks is also not that simple. If once we activate it, we'll be the only other chain besides Dash to have it. Now, if you talk about even LLMQ masternodes, I mean, there are other projects that use it. Many of them not even implemented correctly. I'm not going to name names, but they are really poorly done. So it is not trivial as people think it is just copying the code and stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done to make sure that it is working correctly on Firo. Now, when we were also assessing the threat of a 51% attack, we also took a look at, okay, is the hash rate rentable? We look at nice hash. There was, MTP is not there. I look at mining rig renters. The hash rate there is hardly enough to mount an attack. You could maybe use it to run, maybe like 1 gigahash or something like that. But maybe not even 1 gigahash. I mean, it's more of like a couple of 100 megahash, and you would not be have enough to take over the chain. So we were saying like, okay, look, our network does not have rentable hash rate to attack. We need to roll out Lelantus, and then after a few weeks, we will roll out chain locks. There was no sort of, you know, like elaborate conspiracy to leave our chain in this sort of state. It was a calculated risk, and I think it's very hurtful to me to sort of imply that we we deliberately delayed chain locks. So I really hope that people understand there was no bad intentions there. And we had always announced this. If you attended our meetings, if you have seen what we have been doing, chain locks was always meant to have come right after Lelantus release. So that's just something I want to clarify. Okay. All right, go ahead, Marcos. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, my internet cut there for a bit. So on the forum, I'm sure everyone here has seen, but there is a vote and a discussion happening on what to do with the funds that have been frozen. It seems most people are for reimbursing it to the exchanges. They have an opinion, something that's not in one of these three options. I saw some people were saying yesterday in the Telegram group that they would like some other options. But now's an opportunity to speak up.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that also annoys me. I mean, like, what other options are there? These are the sensible options. But I will be happy to hear. Does anyone else? Because people are saying, give us more options. Okay, what option are we missing? I don't know. So maybe please tell us what option exactly that is realistic that we are missing here.
Okay, is that it? No questions. Okay, we're going to move on from the 51% attack then. Then it's just everything else that's happened really in the last month. We had quite a big successful Binance AMA in the Binance group. I think there's something like 165,000 users in the Telegram group, and I believe one of the Binance staff members said it was the biggest AMA they've ever had. It's just a pity now that it got a bit overshadowed.
Yeah, bigger than more participation than Tron, apparently.
Yeah, and there's actually been a nice uptick in activity in our group, which is a nice knock-on effect. Rebranding, I think almost all the big exchanges have rebranded now. Binance is doing their rebranding this week, and there's a lot of some stakeholders were just waiting and seeing what the others are doing, but it looks like it's pretty universal, which is great. We had a really nice partnership with Locktrip, which is essentially like Booking.com but cheaper. So once I suppose COVID is over, we can always use that. And then CryptoCore released a web wallet, which is, I mean, I've had a look. It's quite nice. It's just nice to have more options. Has anyone got anything else they want to bring up?
I might want to add about the wallet that Praxis has been working on. Maybe you want to talk a bit about that.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not sure what we're calling it, the Rich GUI wallet. I mean, that's made leaps and bounds recently. I think I personally must make the switch to it. But you can, what's the feature called? CoinSwap, where you
Yep.
can buy and sell within the wallet.
Correct. Yeah, it's powered by Switch Chain, which doesn't require KYC. But they are linked to Binance. So if Binance and all this stuff have their deposits and withdrawals locked, that swap doesn't work. We're still exploring other options. We're also doing other stuff to see if we can increase stake Firo adoption. You know, I probably shouldn't share until it's finalized. But one thing that we're also trying to do is Change Now should be supporting a swap option with stake Firo and any other asset, which allows people to change stake Firo to Firo or vice versa without KYC. So that will be also pretty good as well. Um,
Yeah, and then, I mean, I figured we can just open the floor. If anyone has anything else they would like to bring up, adoption ideas, marketing ideas, any sort of idea, now is your chance, really.
Yeah, I mean, like especially with the 51% attack, this is a great time to ask me any questions. Of course, I've answered, I think, most of them in the forum posts, but if anyone has any sort of concerns on what we are doing and stuff like that, um, I would really, now's your time to chime up. Whether by chat, but this is a great time to just ask me off the cuff, because there's a lot of things that need to be done, and I don't know if people realize um, how serious this is. I'm actually still kind of nervous as to the outcome of this. Obviously, all this is pretty big to the future of Firo. And I would like people to weigh in as well. Wow, everyone's just so compliant. Um, Maybe while we're waiting for that, do you want Rasik, do you want to talk about your Priva wallet? Rasik? Oops. Oh. No, we can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
Okay, well, we'll wait for. Okay, all right. I think Toffee is a good question. let me let me be absolutely frank and tell you what are the consequences that I'm thinking about. Right? People have been asking, get more information, or let's wait more, which I understand. But to me, we need to know what additional information have we actually are waiting for, and how long are we going to wait? Now, let me sort of lay out the possible consequences of what needs to be done. Because of the size of the shortfall, you're talking about 900,000 Firo. As long as that money is not, being like, somehow Binance covers it, whether they purchase it from the market, which I don't think makes sense, they have to find some way to fill that hole, or they will be acting as a really really bad fractional reserve. Okay, and I feel that 800, 900,000 Firo is probably a huge chunk of what they have. So so I don't know how they can open up deposits and withdrawals until the money is returned to them. Okay, let's be realistic. Now, are you willing to wait? So now investigations, they take a lot of time, you know. They involve multiple jurisdictions, possibly. And the fact is that the money, we already have it. It's not that we don't have the money. The Firo is already locked there, ready to be transferred. If we do not transfer it anytime soon, and what happens is that there's going to be a knock-on effect. The knock-on effect is that if our deposit and withdrawals remain stuck for too long, other exchanges that suffered like Indodex and all of that stuff also get, they will be like, how am I going to open up trading and whatnot? To me, if we get locked down deposit and withdrawals for too long of a time, this is effective death of the coin. All right, let's be really, really realistic here. I'm not being negative, but if all exchanges lock down deposit and withdrawals after maybe 1 month or so on, everything is going to be down. What is more realistic is to say, okay, Binance, on a good faith basis, because first of all, there is no doubt here that these funds are supposed to be on Binance. It's just so clear that if you take a look at the blockchain analysis, the amount that the user deposited, the attacker deposited, and the amount that he consolidated, almost 100% corresponds, and you can see the flows. All right, so there's no denying that these funds are the ones that needs to be put back to Binance. I personally, of course, this is my own personal opinion. If the community decides that we are intending to give back the funds to Binance, if we give back the funds to Binance, we should do it as soon as possible, which is not going to be that fast because we still need the code that does this, test it, roll it out on the network, which is realistically going to take 2 to 3 weeks. Right? Yes, correct. Binance is also the backend provider for all these Firo swap providers. So almost all trading and everything of it will almost kind of come to a complete halt. Now, what my proposal is that if we can release we agree to move forward with moving this is provided that community vote goes through, then we should go immediately do it, but we must put in provisions to say Binance has to keep us informed on the investigation. It needs to, let us know, that make sure that they are pursuing it as far as they can and give certain time frames for them to report back. So I think this is really sort of like, because at the end of the day, I don't know, you say you withhold it, what good does that do? All right, you reimburse 50% to exchanges. First of all, it's like, it is not Binance's fault. Right? Why should we burn the coin? It means everyone else. Okay, the great thing about burning is like, oh yeah, everyone wins. Okay, everyone wins because supply is reduced, but then you get delisted from every single exchange. Is that a good trade-off, right? Um, I mean, sure, you really have to think very carefully on this. So,
Question, if that's okay.
yeah.
What is the crime this person's actually committed? So you said that you want Binance to go after him, and I guess they have a kind of know your customer, so they might have some information on him.
Correct.
But isn't that just the way that like blockchain works? Like this guy.
No. I understand your concern, because your concern is that, has the attacker done anything illegal, right? And a 51% attack on itself may not be illegal because it's just following the consensus rules and stuff like that, right? I mean, that's the argument that you're making. But here, what appears to be the case is that, just don't talk about the blockchain. Let's talk about what actually happened. What happened was, the attacker deposited an asset into a marketplace. He sold the asset and he got the money out, totally legal, and then he took the asset back. Right? So, and he did this with malicious intent. I mean, obviously, taking the money back for something that you have already sold, using fake KYC, these are all definitely illegal. All right. I mean, like there's definitely a crime that you try to sell something and then somehow you manipulate it such that you get back the asset that you sold. It is a crime. So this is like there's no doubt here. You know, I'm a lawyer. I've even talked to other lawyers about this. The 51% attack on its own may not be a crime, maybe in certain jurisdictions, but the fact that he did this on the exchange to defraud the exchange and defraud the users that he sold the Firo to. I mean, I sell something and then next thing I take it back, or like, you know, that's a crime in itself. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
It's not even a moral argument. I mean, this is like basic theft on any discussion, because one of the elements of theft, you need the intent, you need to take someone permanently deprived. It's all there, and the fact that, you know, it was done like probably with smurfing KYC.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Hey, I think I was a little bit, or I was more optimistic that everything would kind of go by swimmingly, and something that I forgot to put in my forum post, but like echoing that sentiments of, because when I really looked into like swaps that didn't require like KYC, I think if I recall, maybe Change Now or Changelly are one of them, or a few of these. A lot of the back end is like Binance, so then it's like, wow, this is really like the big kingmaker engine to do this. So my vote was for A, and then I think couple on with, like, if you speak with them, they'll say, hey, look, we got chain locks on. Nobody other than Dash has it. Like, and then, you know, things should go swimmingly moving forward from there. So I was kind of like, so when I like suggested things like, oh, then we can do this and this, that, and the others, like it's basically an assumption that both sides would be reasonable, because if they get it back and they could fulfill their users' orders and they don't have to go to that reserve route, then it's just like, cool, we can kind of move on to the next thing, if business as usual, and to like,
Yeah.
like acquire partnerships and things that grow. Yeah, that thing that I said, where it's just like partnerships is what really is gonna take us like Firo to the province. And the code is law, screwing over people, being selfish, it's just gonna make people not want to work with us, in my opinion.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, the thing is that, you know, the whole code is law thing. And I mean, like, take a look at what Ethereum is, right? What is Ethereum Classic's market cap versus Ethereum? Oh, right. I think it's pretty clear what the market has chosen, right? And yes, this is not ideal, but the fact is that there will come a time when this will no longer be possible. Because right now, I mean, it's undoubtedly we are the only ones developing for Firo right now, right? This shouldn't be the case forever, but the fact is that, look, it was a very tough decision. It was like saying, okay, you see a crime happening in front of you that affects 8% of the supply, that may mean death of your project, and you know, some people are like, oh yeah, you shouldn't have locked it down. I think that's really tough because, okay, it's not as if that we could have done it unilaterally, because the exchange, the pools were also asking, oh, what is this update about? And we're like, no, you know, this has happened. We're locking down the attackers' funds, and everyone just go ahead and went ahead and do it. And it's not as if then I say, oh yeah, discussion closed. No one else can discuss about this. This is why we have the poll. This is why we're discussing on the community meeting. But if I had not taken that decision to push, you know, for the pools and everyone to blacklist those funds, we would not have this option today. And basically, what it would have mean is that users of Firo would have lost money on Binance, Binance might delist us. We don't know, and then 8-9% of the supply is still controlled by a malicious attacker. Now, if you say decentralized is everything, and that's okay, I mean, sure, but it also means that the project dies. I mean, that is effective death. And if you think like, okay, we talk about this is a principle that we should never deviate from, but it also means the death of everything else that we stand for. It doesn't really make sense, right? It is very easy for Bitcoiners to say that, but for example, like if there was an inflation attack and like let's just say like the 2018 CVE, that could have happened. Inflation could have happened. 21 million could have become 100 million or 1 billion. Are you going to say, oh yeah, code is law? It's 1 billion now. No one would accept that, right? Bitcoin as a so-called, the whole narrative just completely just falls apart. Similarly, the Bitcoin inflation attack that did actually happen, the CVE in 2012, was I think several trillion Bitcoin were created. Trillion, not billion or million, trillion, trillion Bitcoin was minted. And if we're saying code is law, then yeah, there will be no more Bitcoin today. So I think we have to also be practical and realistic. And people who think that this is a centralized decision, well, if it was a centralized decision, then why are we asking you guys, right? Because obviously, if we do things that are just so abhorrent and that push away the community, the project also effectively dies. So I hope people understand that, let's go away from the maxi arguments, and which are totally, to me, devoid of reality, and many of these people just got rich just because they're lucky, uh, and let's really observe, what is the reality of the situation. What happens if Bitcoin had been attacked? And it could have been attacked very easily because it did not require a 51% attack. It only required enough hash rate to solve a block. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on that.
Okay, cool, Ruben. I just want to say that I echo your sentiments, and I think that sounds good. So let's imagine that the option on the poll that's currently top wins, which is using the stolen funds to pay back the exchange. Just to confirm that your kind of roadmap is tell Binance this is what we're going to do, start coding it, try and release it in 2 to 3 weeks. But you think that funds on Binance are going to be frozen for like the next 3 weeks? Do you until they give them the funds?
Yes, I think that's the case. I mean, I even think that the rebranding, although Margus said that is on track, this might actually be that might be a factor too. How can you open the market if you cannot honor withdrawals? So I think we have to be realistic here. Now, not to say that I'm just going to bow over and say, oh yeah, I'm going to give in to whatever Binance requires. I would, definitely ask for more information. I would like to know how far they've come into the investigation. What can they share with us? They probably can't share with us everything on the ongoing investigation, but I would at least require certain assurances that they are following the proper procedure. We may want to ask like, hey, how did this happen? What kind of a KYC allowed this thing to happen? But I don't know, whether we are in that situation where we are the ones telling that Binance, your KYC sucks. Is that our is that our job, right? So yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I have in mind right now. I do feel that the next 2 to 3 weeks are going to be really stressful for us, especially. But I just kind of want to elaborate, like the realities of what Binance negotiation would be. Now, remember, there was this other 178,000 coins that Binance also managed to return, wants to return to us. Now, I had signed on my end, but because of this, that's also now a big question mark, right? I would say that, look, if we are going to give you this 870,000, we also want to make sure that that other agreement is signed immediately. And please tell us why you want to have it in 3 equal payments. Can you just give it to us now so that we can close this chapter rather than drag it on, right? So I think there are several things that we can negotiate with Binance with, but we also have to be mindful of, first of all, this isn't really their fault. This isn't anyone's fault, and we have to be mindful of that rather than trying to find a scapegoat to blame shit on. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I joined the call a bit late, so I'm not sure if this has been discussed, but
Sorry, you were saying something and then you got cut off.
oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I joined the call a bit late, so I'm not sure if it's been discussed, but I'm interested to know how successful the attacker was. Like, did he come out doubling his money, or was he just net neutral because he lost all his Firo in the end?
So this is a big question mark. I mean, if just from because he lost all his Firo, technically he bought Firo, then he sold Firo. Maybe he made a little bit of money from the selling if it was higher than what he bought it at. But it doesn't seem like he massively profited because he would also, I don't know where he got the hash rate from, whether he had to rent someone's GPU mining farm or had to divert his mining capabilities to us. What was a bit suspicious was one, I don't want to get this guy in trouble, but one of the pool operators actually did tell me that, he was offered certain money to come up with a mainnet Firo pool for this anonymous person. They were paid. He mined one block and then just disappeared. I don't know. The timing looks a bit suspicious. I don't think it's the pool operator. The pool operator, I mean, came to me on his own and explained that he did this. He doesn't know if it's related, but just to let you know that this attack was very strange because if he was wanting to profit from it, he could have hit that 870,000 coins a lot better because we did not disable Lelantus until several hours after we found out. We were just trying to process the situation, trace all the funds. He had at least 3 hours to anonymize his funds or try to move his funds or anything like that. There was no attempt to do it. I mean, even when he withdrew into one address. So whoever attacked us, I don't know if he hello attacker if he's in this chat right now, but whoever attacked us had several $1 million to do this and came off maybe only slightly better or not. The only way he could have probably made a lot of money from this is if he had done a huge margin short as well on the market when he was dumping. Um, I did ask Binance on this. I don't know if that's something that they can reveal, but it would be just interesting to know because right now the attack just really doesn't make sense to me. You discredit a project, but you put millions of dollars at risk for very little gain. So it's a bit confusing. Yeah.
Yeah, because if I'm not mistaken, he like it's okay if he puts all the funds in one wallet, but he just had to press like burn coins, right? And
Right.
then like we would have had almost 1 million coins, and we would have no idea who owned them, and then like the project really would be dead. I would say maybe if that had happened, but
Yes.
because we can confiscate them and give them back to all the people who they were stolen from, then actually it like doesn't seem so bad in a way. Although this is pretty bad, like it's not as bad, I would say.
Yeah, I mean that's why it's like if he wanted to kill the project, he could have killed the project. But I'm not exactly sure what the motives were. It's just so weird. Some community members actually traced the funds to someone that was actually holding a significant amount of existing Firo. Um, so I have really no idea what was the whole intent of this attack. The timing is really weird. Because some people are like, "Oh yeah, it's an insider job." Well, how the heck did we benefit from this, right? There's no way that the team benefits from this. None of us have millions of dollars to fuck with our own project. really doesn't make sense. So yeah.
Yeah, I just agree that it's really weird because like it isn't trivial to get all this hash rate in the first place. And once you have it, you can actually use it to profit easily. You just, you could just, if you have this hash rate, you can just use it
To mine, yeah.
legally. Yeah, you can just use it legally to mine anything and you'll get some money. But it is just weird, I think.
Yeah, and what was also really interesting that I didn't put in my post, not because of wanting to hide anything, but because it was just getting very long. So even after the attack and after we placed the blacklist, um, there was a period of time where after we rolled out the update, and which included the lockdown, um, and not the entire network had upgraded yet. And what happened then was he probably noticed that, oops, his funds appears to have been locked, and then he then turned on his hash power again and tried to rewrite the chain so that he can move his funds. So that was really weird as well. I'm not sure whether he was entirely aware of what we were doing, but he made, I think it was several hours of attacking hash rate that he was trying to continuously get his 870,000 transferred into different addresses. It was really strange, but in a way, in a twisted way, it kind of confirms that the owner of that 870,000 in that address is the same person that attacked us with the 51% attack. So that actually further gives us more right to freeze it.
Yeah, I don't know if I think I mentioned it before, probably the call started, but now there's more people here. But it's not too far of a stretch that they would just kind of like drop the ball at the end, just from my experience with like family friends that are correction officers or just like people that have been caught up in things. It's like one glaring detail that just caused the whole house of cards to fall off. And we got like two prior examples where I think when people was like, oh, there's a back when in the trading rooms where you was like, oh, there's a huge sell wall. It's coming from one of the, let's see, angry investors. And you
Right.
said, yeah, 'cause he didn't even use Sigma to even break the transaction link. So you could see directly from his wallet to Binance and pushing it, trying to to discredit the project. And then another person that was attempting to use Firo that another community members said, but instead of we're like Sigma's right there, but they were basically breaking up transactions and doing mixing and all this other like like roundabout ways to attempt
Right.
to hide them. So it's not too far out there. Like it's not impossible that they probably just went on blockchain assumptions to where it's like, oh, it's off the exchange, it's in my personal wallet. Oh, now I can just consolidate it and I get off scot free. But then little did you know, you just like you got something where you can just like frozen. Now we can take this back. So and just like you said, he tried to then immediately ramp up the hash rate so he can reverse that to no avail. So yeah, it's just like on the lower end, you got people that like do something like commit a crime and then they brag about it on social media, or they just pat themselves on the back too early after doing this non-trivial act, and then it's just relaxed and possibly was like maybe ready to go. But that's just me speculating. But I think like from my experience, that's probably the most likely explanation.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? I mean, someone with a lot of money, a lot of hash rate, a lot of you know, resources, and to kind of take that um make that mistake, well, then lucky us, right? I mean, I would accept that more, but at the same time, to do a 51% attack of that magnitude, because it seems that he acquired the coins prior to the attack. It's not as if like, he didn't spend money. It means he was willing to say, okay, now I have gotten the proceeds of my attack, and now I have this 870,000 coins of Firo, that if it was not locked down or not, the project actually might be worth zero, right? So whether the 870,000 coins would be worth anything is a big question mark, right? Um, I don't know whether he thought about it, but it really puzzled me. It still puzzles me to the day. I don't really understand the motives of the attack, but even if he did intend to keep the 870,000 coins, the scale of the attack doesn't seem to make sense as well, because it means that the remaining coins may be worthless, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like, oh, sorry. I was just gonna also add, like, if we looked at the context of when other like Bitcoin's overinflation into the trillions and things, where it's like, and I think, well, ETC, from what I read on Cointelegraph, it's like, okay, let's do a double spin so we can get defraud the exchanges and cash out to where they won't have to ever work again. And with Bitcoin going into trillions, that's also kind of baffling, because then it's like you just like, okay, it's not trivial to do that kind of attack, but you're basically putting the whole system's integrity, like destroying it. So then you like so you wouldn't really be able to really cash out, because now you just made everything worthless.
Yep.
Or whereas like I would think anybody that with basic that says like, okay, if I got a key to inflate it, let me just let's do a little bit without noticing until you cash out. So that's also kind of baffling. So well, as that's or what I mean to say, that other examples of baffling. So it's
Hmm.
not too far much of a reach.
A quick
Okay.
question: are you guys actually going to freeze his funds? Am I understanding this correctly?
It's already frozen.
Isn't that a little bit kind of a centralized thing to do? I mean, it's kind of like what XRP can do and everything else.
Oh, well, it's not as if that we centrally like said, we locked his funds. What we actually had to do was to tell tell the pools like, hey, we have this update, and um we're doing this. What do you guys think? Or rather, well, we're rolling out this update, right? So it's not as if like if they said no, we couldn't have done shit. And if you take a look at the GitHub, it's not as if we even tried to hide the fact that we were doing this. It was more of a decision to to do it to do it to give the community options. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not like, for example, if I say like, oh, well, we're gonna freeze these funds because I don't like your face. I mean, here, it was the pools that said like, it looks like a 51% attack is happening. They asked us what are we doing about it, and we're like, oh look, okay, we found that the attackers funds are locked here. We're pushing out this emergency update, please kindly update. And the miners then did it. So it's not as if we could have done it without their agreement as well, which is kind of the same thing with Bitcoin. Like, I'm sure that if there was an exploit on Bitcoin, the core team would have contacted all the pools and like saying, right, this is what we're doing, are you going to help us or not? Right. So I think it's the same.
Cool. Hi there. I've got a quick question about the inflation bug that happened earlier this year. Is it okay if we talk about that as well?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead and ask. Yeah.
Cool. So I'm going to start off by saying something positive, because I want to make it clear that I'm a kind of supporter of the project. But I was pretty disappointed because I don't check crypto news every day. I check it like a lot more than that. I was
Right.
like surprised when I saw like, oh God, like it's happened again. Like, because this isn't the first inflation
Yes.
bug that Sequoins had, right? I think it's the second. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, maybe second or third. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Yep.
Okay. So like I think there's a lot of great attributes about Zcoin or Firo, but like the devs need to stop screwing up, in my opinion. And like I don't know what they need to change about the way they're working. More testing, more experienced developers being hired. I'm not sure how big the development fund is, or if this is possible. But
Yeah. It's
like,
not.
is this like, as you being the project manager, is this something which you're like speaking to them about and being like, hey, every time there is an inflation bug, it sets back, like the whole thing about blockchain is like the history, the fact that people trust the blockchain and they can reflect on how it's been. Like this
No,
is a
definitely.
serious reputational damage every time.
Yeah. So let me explain. I would say the first inflation bug was definitely our fault. That was happening in 2016 when the project only had one developer. That was like pure, not very good coding. And that, is like Parman, he's a graduate student. I mean, he came out with really good ideas, but he wasn't the best coder. And this was in 2016 where everyone was just coming out with their altcoin with a small little change. And the fact that he tried to do this you know, is to be applauded. But this wasn't like the time when you had like professional teams developing it. That one, there's no excuse. It was a horrible bug, and that's why we had 21.4 million. The one that happened with the zero coin bug, that one wasn't like, I would say that attack, I don't blame the developers at all. The cryptography had been looked at by many cryptographers, even ones that we had engaged, and all of them did not find it. Um, and even the way the attacker found this was kind of like a roundabout way, where he attacked Pivx first, and he started trying to tweak his attack, and kind of found a way to exploit it. That he didn't really understand the cryptographic flaw, but somehow managed to pull it off. But this still required a very, very high level of technical ability. And in that case, it was really tough to blame the dev team, because it's not as the first of all, the error did not even come from our code. It actually came from the library that the Zcash founding scientists made. And perhaps we made the mistake of saying like, oh yeah, there was a lot of warnings on it saying that this is just a prototype software. But that being said, that we did engage cryptographers that work for Blockstream now and all this sort of stuff to actually the look through the freaking library. And that one, I think we managed to resolve it quite well, but obviously it took a hit to our reputation. But if you speak to the cryptographers, they were like, "Yeah, that one's pretty hard to find." So, like, if professional cryptographers that even work on Zcash saying, "Oh yeah, that was hard to find," I think that is a testament to how tough it is to get the cryptography right. Now, you can say that, oh yeah, but then other projects did not get attacked. Well, actually, Zero Cash had a critical inflation bug as well, with the best scientists, the best teams, the best auditors as well. They were just very lucky that they was not exploited, and this was live for 2 fucking years, right? And so they were very lucky that they were not exploited, or at least we don't know whether they've been exploited, because it's impossible to tell. Similarly,
Uh,
Monero also had several attacks as well. I mean, they had several vulnerabilities, including a detectable inflation bug, but it was not exploited as well. So it's
uh,
not as if that these are unknown. It's just it seems that we have been dealt really, really hard cards. Now, the only thing that I would say, the last bug, that one I can think we can take responsibility for. And let me just explain how that bug happened. The bug that we got was not actually a Firo originated bug. It was a Bitcoin originated bug. It was what was happening was, when the 2018 inflation bug on Bitcoin came about, um, we were on version 13 of Bitcoin. And when we were on version 13 of Bitcoin, we were not exposed to this. And I remember checking on the 2018 that when that happened, we looked at it. Right, we are not we are not vulnerable to this.
um, quick question: what's gonna happen to the frozen coin? Are you guys planning to burn it and put it back in the supply that hasn't been mined yet, or?
Hang on, let me finish explaining the current question. Um, so when we did upgrade to the the 2000, when we did upgrade to Bitcoin 14, we basically looked at the Bitcoin upstream and ported the changes over. When we ported the changes over, we forgot that we were also porting this bug in, and that's how the bug happened. Now, in retrospect, the right thing would have done is like, okay, we ported in, and then we look through all the CVEs again, which is what we do now. But then we were like, oh yeah, we're porting Bitcoin code. What could go wrong, right? That was definitely an oversight on our part, and it's very unfortunate. But I just wanted to explain the current situation there. Now, the inflation from that particular bug is almost entirely mitigated, and Binance was actually, well, in the midst of returning the money that was created from this to us, and we were planning to burn these funds so that they stop existing completely. So yep, I don't know, does that explain or answer a lot, Yugi?
All right, thanks a lot.
Yep. And now, what did we do with Lelantis from all the lessons that we learned? We went to Trail Bits to get it audited. We also went to ABTK Consulting to have the cryptographer also audit our work as well. And we have several safeguards, like for example, the Lelantis emergency switch. We're also taking it in phases. And when budget permits, I do actually want another audit as well, to just audit the whole implementation together. Obviously, audits cannot completely protect, but at least we have done our due diligence. So I think as the technology matures and stuff like that, I do think that these incidents will reduce. But obviously, hopefully, if our price increases, then we can have more people on board. I can say that we are running like, we really make the most of what we can right now. And I'm not trying to make excuses for the last bug, but I hope that you understand the context of the mistake that we made. It's not as if that we coded something that was wrong. It was more of like, let's import Bitcoin, and we wrongly assumed that Bitcoin code was fine, because if we had to like vet through every single Bitcoin code thing, we'll never get any sort of work done. As for Dirty Rusky's question as to what should the funds, I don't know whether he was referring to the current 51% attack that we froze, or the one that we are burning for the
Yeah.
inflation. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
the current one. So
so if you take a look at, this is what is being decided right now, right? And if you take a look at the forum posts,
because my thing is, you guys said that he's an existing holder. So if he had if you take away that coin from him, I mean, I understand he attacked the chain and everything, but I just think that will go completely against the principle if you guys take away his previous coin that if he minded fair and square.
no, because the thing is that he should not have got it because he already sold it, right?
Oh, I see.
Yeah, like okay, I got the coins legitimately, I sold it, and I got it back again through the attack when those funds were already sold. Yeah, and he didn't mine
Okay.
it. He bought it from Binance. Yeah. So
Okay,
yeah.
but so you guys are planning to burn it and put it back in the supply, or what's going to
No,
happen
what
with that?
happens now is that because he took those funds from users that he sold the Firo to, right? Because just imagine I sold the Firo to you, and then I roll back the chain so that now, even though I already got your Bitcoin or your US dollars, I return the Firo to myself. You understand the attack?
Yeah, right. Hmm.
Yeah. So basically, he should not be owning those Firo, right? So the Firo should be reinstated to the original owners. Correct? Yep. So that's exact, by putting it back to Binance, which is where he sold it to. We are making good the people that lost money because of him reversing the transaction. It's not actually Binance funds, it's actually the user's Firo that has been reversed, but it was done on the Binance
Yeah,
platform. So yeah.
I had some of my fear reverse as well on my
Correct.
wallet. So mhm.
Yep. So yeah. Hope that explains it.
Yeah. So this is something that I wanted to clarify as well. I only just recently made a post, but it was
Yep, I
just
saw
about that yeah, but it was just about like yeah, maybe it was a long post, but like you're talking about like giving the funds back and it being against the blockchain and all that, but it's like, no, like if we're reversing this and we have the chance to give those funds back, we're essentially just putting it back to what it was before it happened. It's not like we're like if I understand correctly, which is what I said in my post. It's like we're locking the attackers' funds, mining replacements for those funds,
Right.
reimbursing the ones that were lost from the exchange, which in turn is the people through the exchange that have lost their funds.
Right.
And then even the attacker still gets what he managed to sell for USDT or whatever else at the end of it anyway. So it's just like all the same as it was before it began.
Yes.
Is that not?
Basically, we are just reinstating as if the attack did not happen. Not.
Well,
Yeah.
it is and it is not. In a way, if you can think of it like you're manipulating the chain. So when you manipulate the chain, it's no longer uh, immutable and decentralized. So if you think about it in the future, this gives an ability for developers or whoever do whatever it is that they want.
No,
That's
the
my
thing.
only thing about it.
We and I totally agree with it, but the thing is that we can't. If we do this unilaterally and we say like this is the decision, the community would say fuck you guys, right? And this is why we're having this talk now. This is
Right.
why we are having people vote, and it's not as if that we are making unilateral decision. Of course, I have my own preference, which I think I'm free to express. But
Right.
at the same time, if you take a look at the post, we are giving people the option. If enough people say that, oh yeah, okay, attacker should have 8% of the supply, even though it was wrongfully obtained. This is blockchain. Everything is awesome. Well, that's the community decision. The project dies, then okay, fine. Like that's what the community decides. But
Yeah, I
we
respect
Yeah,
that.
like I think like if you choose to go out there and live in the wilderness where like nothing like if 100% true freedom means that if you want to go out there and like cause grievous harm to somebody, then you have the right to do that. But then other people can have also that right to bring it back upon you. Like a coin, like a society, surely is not like through the majority. So like, what kind of society do you want to live in? It's like, yes, you can have like the immutable ledger is a golden thing, and I believe in it. But like, if you do it to such an extent that you are like almost cutting your nose off to spite your face, like what benefit does it have to anybody? And indeed, like even when you're trying to spend your funds, you are still looking for that consensus throughout the rest of society to say, yes, you have those funds, you're able to spend them. Like if you're starting to say like you no longer want to live by that consensus, well then fine, it needs to be a different chain, which
and
is almost akin to anarchy, surely.
I mean, like even if you take, I mean, like what I was telling like all these Bitcoiners, like I'm like, okay, so if code is law, then the $1 trillion that were created, the trillion Bitcoin that were created on the value overflow incident should have been respected because code is law. Even the bugs are law, right? So I really think that it's easy for Bitcoiners to say this, and you have to realize that Bitcoin also has the benefit of not just the core team, but many, many other developers. And the fact that the 2018 bug, the inflation bug that could have really messed them up, the vulnerability was not even found by the core team. It was found by their competitor, Bitcoin Cash. A Bitcoin Cash developer found that bug and disclosed it to them. So um, it goes to show that code is never perfect. But what I'm saying is that to blindly say code is law, we should honor all bugs and stuff like that. Well, first of all, this really isn't a bug, but the fact that we also have to be realistic that it is a social contract. What is the social contract that we're trying to enforce here, right? And there will come a time, especially as we move to more private transactions come off, as we secure the network more and more. And this is kind of why we are approaching privacy in phases, right? Where we don't go like full board privacy. So if there's a problem, there's no way to rectify it. We are doing it in phases. We test it the shit out of it. We do through audits, and when we are satisfied, then we add more and more layers. But there will come a point where it will be impossible for us to blacklist and stuff. And honestly, if this user had just taken a few more steps, this attacker had taken a few more steps, we would have not been able to freeze his funds, because it would be now like, oh well, what are we going to do? How are we going to freeze his Lelantus funds that he cycled in and out? We can't be sure where the money in the money is. Of course, I shouldn't be educating everyone here how to do it, but I mean, this is
No,
the
but
reality. Yeah.
I included that in my point as well. I think I was like saying, well, maybe he just needs to be a bit more clever about what he's doing, which I think was alluded to with what was their motivation in the first place. Because if it was just about financial gain, surely you'd be a bit better about it. Like,
Yeah, it's all really strange, and I mean, like, even some of the the new people coming in and having a little bit of Firo and suddenly trying to cause all sorts of ruckus. Really weird.
So, if this guy had just taken 2 steps and anonymized his coins, literally just going to the Lelantis tab and clicking burn, he would have made it. What was the net profit at the current price? 6 million, something like that. Some crazy number, right?
Some crazy number. Yeah, like actually, it's not even it's not even 2 steps. He just had to click on anonymize all, and then and enter in his password, and like bam, it will be really tough for us to do anything. Yeah.
Smart enough to disconnect his computer and start mining a more difficult chain than Firo. Dumb enough not to actually anonymize it.
I don't know. That's why it's so weird, right? But yeah.
yeah, but I still don't subscribe to the idea that, like, you know, because we have the power to, if you will, to undo this action, that it undermines like the ownership of keys or anything like that. I just don't think it is that way. I think that's like oversimplifying the whole thing, and it just seems like an obvious course of action, certainly for the benefit of everybody, including the moral aspect, to like reset it like it never happened. Like if only we could do that for every single crime in society, it would be brilliant. You know what I mean? Like somebody shot somebody. Oh, actually, we'll just take that back. We'll undo that. It didn't happen, and it's all good. You know, like what I don't know. Somebody tell me. I don't know what the problem is.
Yeah. Oh well. Okay, so is there anything else that people want to bring up? We are coming past the 1 hour mark, but happy to answer any other concerns.
Okay, yeah. I just like I kind of seeing that this point just echoed. I just want to add it. Like I hope people are not looking at centralized and decentralized as a black and white issue, but more look at it as like a wide spectrum. And where we are is I would say is like a DAO, decentralized autonomous organization. The fact that we have a forum and then everybody in community that assumably have Firo can weigh in. The fact we're on the call right now, basically like a conference call, it basically puts us like in that spectrum, at least on the decentralized, like and then I just want to say, like, dude, as you saw, like with stimulus package that the government put out, they didn't say, hey, let's take in a vote from all the citizens. No, they just did it. PayPal, they don't when they want to freeze your account for suspicious activity, they just do it. There's no, hey, let's get a community forum and here's the thing that went down. What should we do? No, they just do it, and you got to jump through hoops to prove to them you're not suspicious, and then you just
I
gotta
agree.
be wary of that. And I have faith in the team, and they're gonna do what they always do with receipts. And and then I want to address that point that someone said, like, oh, but then if they do this, then it's just a slippery slope. It's like, no, they're gonna do what they always do. Like any critical juncture, it's gonna be up on the forum, and then we'll all like weigh in on it, just like we're doing now.
Plus, to be fair, in regards to actual control of the network, uh, uh, before chain locks, the majority of the control of the network was to 2 miners, I believe. Like if they wanted, if any major change needed to go out the door, it was centralized through 2 miners because they had, I think it was, what was the total percentage of the mining power that they had? It was just under 50%, if I remember. But now with it's called chain locks, that power is almost I think it's like splits 25-75 with miners and with the miners being 25 and masternauts being 75, right? In regards to percentage of control needed to 51% needed on the miner side and 75% needed on the masternaut side for any major it's called hard fork changes.
So for just to sort of clarify what Chainlocks does, so Chainlocks is coming online on 28th of January, hopefully. Um, oh God, hopefully it goes through smoothly. But it's not to say that we are immune to attacks, but it makes it very, very difficult to. What you would need to attack the chain now is not only the hash rate, you would also need to have 50% of the master nodes, which, well, right now is like 2 million coins, and to host them and to have them qualify. And then when you have control of 50% of master nodes, you can effectively disable chain locks.
So
But
that's isn't it quorum amount? So it'd be just above 50% because that number changes continuously.
it's if you take a look at the dash calculations, which they did, they said that it's 50%. 30% is not enough. You would need 50% to disable it, and even with 50% control, you can't really do a malicious chain lock. But let me get the calculations for you.
And right now, market depth on Firo makes it impossible for someone to acquire 2 million coins maliciously, right?
Well,
Unless
someone
they're
800,000 coins, right?
no, I mean on top of like having enough to do a profitable 51% attack.
Yep. Oh, let's see.
So let's assume that let's say that the same attack size of 900,000 coins plus 2 million needed on the 2.9 million. Plus, what was the calculated exponential for actually doing the 51% attack? I know someone had some crazy, ridiculous small number, and I had some number that seemed I thought was right, but I'm not 100% sure on. It was like a few $1,000s a day or something like that, so not much actually. But overall, that's like what 2.9 million coins,
Yep.
something like that.
And also, the other thing that I wanted to do, I mean, some people reached out to me, about Professor Emin Gun Sira from Avalanche, to say that, oh, chainlock sucks. I actually had a talk with him, and he misunderstood what chainlocks actually meant. He thought it was just limiting max reorg depth. But the chainlocks that we were talking about, after I had a talk with him, he agrees that it should secure the chain pretty well. So he says, well, even if there's an issue, it's still going to be very, very tough to attack it, and he thinks that's fine. So I'll post a trip for who anyone's interested on the nitty gritty of that. All right, yeah. So Nuwa has already done it. Okay, when will the community votes be counted and a 2 to 3 week countdown start? Well, the thing is that right now it does look like people are voting for option 1. I would probably only start the countdown or per se, when I have a discussion with Binance. I give maybe like some further any additional information or what they agree upon, and if there's been no change in that, we will already be proceeding forward. I don't think we can keep this open for months and months. I think it's in everyone's interest that we move on from this. But hopefully we can get like a good number of votes. That's all I'm worried. That's all I'm like worried about. But so far looks good, and thanks for everyone who took the time to spend the time to write and stuff, because voting is one thing, but I think it adds additional credibility when people write into the channel or even come onto the community meeting. We know there are real people behind it, and yeah.
Is there still time for question, or are we finished? Sorry.
Oh yeah, I mean you can ask a question, no problem.
Sure. Sorry. So I asked a question about the inflation bugs earlier on, and the response I got made me feel more confident. But it seems to me that actually, because we're using cutting edge technology, the reality is it could happen again. So maybe
Right.
when Firo is kind of advertising itself, we need to make clear that we're privacy focused, we're trying to be cutting edge, but because we have this amazing feature of auditability, then it means that unlike other privacy coins, we can actually know when this happens, and we've actually now got a track record of actually being able to deal with it. So maybe that's something which we should celebrate as well, because it's a really special thing.
Auditability is a spectrum. I think there's actually an excellent YouTube video of a fluffy pony from Monero talking about it. And you're right. They are right now we are more auditable than Monero or even Zcash because we have to redeem back to the base layer. But of course, we are less auditable than Bitcoin because we have the Lelantus burns and stuff like that. So I would say that we shouldn't be holding too steadfast onto auditability, but see it as something that can protect us until we get to the point. Lelantus version 2 would also mean, a further loss of auditability, but much increased privacy. You can't really have both auditability and strong privacy. But this is kind of why we have like safeguards. We are trying to approach this in stages. We're getting like the best people to audit us. And but just don't get too stuck up about it. But let me get the link on.
Okay, cool. I guess it just makes me feel better knowing that if like another inflation bug happens, we'd know like exactly what happened. And I think other coins probably don't know what's going on.
Yep. But I will share this. Okay, here we go. Yeah, everyone's telling us to take a break, but at the same time, like, why isn't this developed? Why isn't that developed? Why didn't you deploy chain locks like a few months ago? Until I'm having a bad cough. But anyone who's interested on looking at a very nuanced kind of I think this particular talk is pretty good and quite accessible to people as well.
Ruben, you sound like you're dying.
I'm always dying, especially during these stressful times. My cough gets really bad. Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to let's just add something, I guess, more of an optimistic, just assuming that everything goes smoothly, which it should, after chain lock. So yeah, I didn't know like before where Firo would be the only coin after Dash to implement chain locks, and then I just threw it in the room before to say that I think once we possibly some time past maybe a month and markets are open, and we're the only one that implemented chain lock too, that could be further um, a big high selling point for the security, and therefore probably parlay into like the futures market. I know we're only on margin in Binance, but then Zcash is the only one on is the only other privacy coin on like FTX, like futures market. And from just my foray into it,
So there is a
the futures
futures market for Firo. It's just not on Binance.
Oh, you said what is?
Yeah, there is. I'll show you the exchange later. I have to look it up, but I think it's like MXC or something.
So actually, we were. I mean, I'm just gonna disclose this. It's not as if we haven't thought about it. We were actually pursuing perpetuals, futures products for Firo with several exchanges. Obviously now with the 51% attack, we probably have to wait a bit before coming out about this again. But it is not something that it is definitely something that is high in our priority. But kind of ironically, if we had perpetuals, even the fact that we have margin shorting can also greatly amplify the profitability of attacks like this on us. But we think that it's still a net benefit, so therefore we are still pursuing it. But right now, we just want to make sure that we survive and that all of this this we get through this. One thing that I would like to add, I don't know if this is probably bad to mention, but I don't know of any other coin that has been dealt a harder hand than us. because a lot of it was not like from any negligence on our part. If you take a look, like I was actually speaking to Diego because he was helping me to write the post on the forum because I was like already so swamped, and he's like saying, dude, you've already run this the best that you can, but you just keep on getting dealt the really absolutely worst cards, like from when we first started, a co-founder ran away with all our seed money. We got hacked. We got inflation bust. We got 51% attack. We have a malicious seed investor. We have been through every single thing, and if we still survive, I feel that we really, really deserve, like, we're like cockroach, we cannot die. I know this isn't really favorable to us, but to me, I'm like, wow, we really can survive anything. So,
One reason I'm still here.
but yeah, I mean, like, this latest incident is really like, it's really traumatizing to me. It's almost like, as if, like, when we launched Atlantis, we're like, this was like 2 years of work and we're all happy, and then next thing this shit keeps on happening again, and this time it was like through no fault of ours. So it's really, really tough. I look forward to at least taking a good break soon.
I've
It's
been
nice to
trying
have this
figure out.
forum to talk.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry, go.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's nice to actually have this forum to talk to you, though. I mean, I don't mind saying, like, I've been around for quite a number of years. When fortunately the SAT value is a lot higher than it is now, for the holdings I have. But I do have like I have a professional hat to put on, like as an investor, but I also have a personal hat that I put on for things that I believe in. And I have always believed in this project, and also with the developers and yourself that you're talking now. Even though I've never spoke to you or met you, and it is in the troubled times that things are tested, and it is why potentially I have been more of a listener than a talker at times. Maybe I will now start to change that. I don't know, but it is definitely pivotal to hear about the opinions of others, the community, and certainly the developers, and those that currently essentially hold the keys, I guess some would say. So it is important, certainly for those of us that have been long here and long holding what would amount to significant value for a lot, so I don't know. I just want to say it is nice to have this forum. I appreciate it. I do not expect everybody to always agree, and that's great. That's fine. You know what I mean? It's nice though to have that civilized disagreement at times, and I would also like for people to point out in the forum where I've posted my opinions to try and point out why I'm wrong at times. That's also fine. You know what I mean? Like, this is not like a Wild West environment. Well, it shouldn't be. Ultimately, what we're striving towards, I mean, it is right now, but ultimately we should be striving towards, I would hope, something that is a bit more cohesive, something that is a bit more akin to what we're all striving towards, this, where everybody can have their cake and eat it too. But I don't know. I'll shut up now.
That's fine. I mean, we really appreciate it. It's just sometimes like I don't know. Maybe I'm whining a bit, but sometimes like I disclose things because I'm quite an open kind of person, and I disclose things that I do, and then people like read into it in all sorts of messy ways. Like, I asked the opinion of what should we do with the inflation funds, and someone said that, oh, I'm doing this because I'm narcissistic, or like I told people, like, people are asking me, hey, are you buying Firo? I'm like, yeah, I actually just bought 100,000 coins, and then somebody starts posting that, oh, I'm trying to manipulate people into buying. I'm like, come on, just give me a freaking break. Like, I'm just being very open about things. I want opinions, and It kind of sucks that people choose to read it in such twisted ways. But yeah, I think unless there's any other burning questions, I think we are probably almost out of time. Does anyone have anything that they want to be answered? And yeah. Okay, Muggles, go ahead and wrap up. Oh, is he still here? Oh, yes, he is. Muggles. All right, I guess.
I guess you're wrapping
Thanks,
up.
everyone. I think this has actually been a record turnout.
Yeah, cool. Wait, I'll let you wrap up if you have anything to say. Yeah.
Now I've got it. Any more questions? Okay, cool. It's been an hour and 40 minutes. I think we're going to wrap this up. Thank you, everyone. There will be recording on YouTube shortly.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot. Catch you soon.